Today I decided to resurrect this channel from a long and cold hibernation to answer one age-old question. What's wrong with people? We can't all have been dropped on our heads as babies. We can't all have been the tragic victims of bullying in our middle school home ec class. I was homeschooled. I don't know what you people did in there. So why are people becoming so weird about intimacy? In online spaces, it's becoming increasingly common for genuine displays of affection to be seen as cringe. Like the only appropriate way to interact with another human being is if you're doing it with 6 feet of emotional detachment between you. There's one video in particular that inspired me to sit down and film this. If you also have the disease known as a Twitter account, you may have already seen this.
My friend at the gym the other day, she said it was her birthday that day. And I was like, oh my gosh, like happy birthday. And in my head, I'm thinking, oh, I could bring her a Starbucks card tomorrow morning and say it was like a belated birthday gift or all those things. But I was like, oh, if I drive to Starbucks and get something and do the effort, like that's all extra time that my yes there is going to be a no to a priority I actually have. And so I kind of take it through the lens of my yes somewhere is always a no somewhere else. And what is actually a priority here? Like I work during the week, so those times with my kids are precious. Do I really want to take that away?
Yeah.
And in my head, it's like happy birthday. Saying that is enough.
Imagine being her friend and seeing this. A 10-minute Starbucks run is just too much effort for my friends, who are definitely not a priority to me. A yes there is a no everywhere else. Okay, but here's the thing. Like, was saying yes to the podcast not a no to your kids? Was saying yes to going to the gym not a no to your kids? You can just say that you didn't feel like doing it. You can just say that. I don't get this mindset. Like, if you're my friend, forget a Starbucks card, I'll bake you a cake myself. You need a kidney? I have 2. Make a blood pact with me and die in my arms. Hyper-individualism will be the death of society. On a less dramatic note, mindsets like this also just make for really bad friendships. People are so lonely these days. Oh my god, they're so lonely. Like, nobody has friends anymore. Nobody knows how to connect with the people around them. Nobody has a sense of community. Do we really have the time? Can we really afford to keep up with this way of thinking? The loss of community-based mindsets in Western culture has been happening for a very long time. Over a century ago, with the extinction of local community-based societies, to our increasing dependency on technology, to a global pandemic that had many of us locked up inside of our homes for months at a time. People are just not reliant on each other anymore, or at least not in ways that require us to acknowledge it. Belongingness in a community is a basic human need. Like, we're wired for it as a species. And when we become deprived of that, it does some not great things to our overall well-being, and focusing more on the self, focusing more on individual identity and individual needs can only do so much in helping us cure an ailment that was caused by excessive individualism to begin with. I can be guilty of myself in this in a way. I have a tendency to shut myself away in my home and just not speak to anyone, and sometimes I start to feel a bit crazy with it. And you know what fixes that feeling every time? Baking something for my family, FaceTiming a friend, helping my mom out with errands. What fixes that feeling is making someone else a priority, if only for a little bit. Using my time and my effort to give another person something meaningful. Do you like your friends? Are they good people? Are they people that you love and want to continue to have in your life? Then they are deserving of your time, and they should be a priority to you. Imagine going through life without experiencing the satisfaction of putting time and effort into a gift or a gesture for someone else. Imagine floating through life, having no platonic relationships where you could genuinely say, you know what? I would inconvenience myself for this person. God, the bar is in hell. Okay, and here's the thing. Realistically, maybe you don't need to get all of your acquaintances or every distant friend a gift on their birthday. Maybe the act of getting someone a gift card or not isn't the real problem here. What really bothers me about all of this is just the attitude, the self-righteousness of it, the misused therapy speak to justify it. Do you know some people are actually made worse by therapy? Some people walk into a therapy session, learn a couple of buzzwords, and come out of it even more insufferable and selfish than they were before they went into it. And even more horrifyingly, some of those people end up with social media accounts where they teach other people to do the same thing. You can read every self-help book on the shelf, but if you're only willing to apply the things you read to other people, if you're not willing to take that information and look at yourself critically and ask yourself how you may be making your own life or other lives worse, you're not going to benefit from it much. You can say it in the most reasonable, clinical way possible, but what it still boils down to is that you thought about doing something nice for your friend and then just decided not to. You can just say that. You can just say that instead of making up all this therapized, self-righteous justification. Generally speaking, if you're talking to me in a youth pastor tone of voice, I'm not trusting what you're saying. Self-care should not look like self-centeredness. If the boundaries you're drawing to make yourself feel better are ultimately just denying the people you love the most basic acts of affection, maybe you're not drawing healthy boundaries. Maybe you're just a bad friend. This reminds me of that guy on Twitter who everyone was calling him clingy because he texted his date like 3 times the morning after they met up. I think it's safe to say I definitely like you. Drive safe, pretty boy. I hope it was just as nice being held as it was for me to hold you. How's your morning, by the way? So that's a normal, healthy way to express your affection for someone. Unfortunately, people with untreated attachment issues are walking among us. And the amount of them that crawled into this man's comments to tell him that he was clingy and weird and actually kind of deserved to get ghosted. You know, I think I was right to take a vow of celibacy. This is the same type of thing we see in simp accusations. To anyone who uses the term unironically, a simp is just a man who got caught treating his girlfriend nicely. The overarching mindset in it, aside from the misogyny, is that if you're doing something selfless for someone else, you must not have much respect for yourself. And relationships become so transactional under this way of thinking. Like you're constantly weighing the pros and cons of every action to yourself, thinking about how much time it'll take up, how much effort it'll cost you, whether or not this person is actually worth it. If you care about them enough to want their continued presence in your life, yeah. Yes, probably safe to say, just go ahead and assume, yeah. I'm actually incapable of being attracted to anyone who isn't basically obsessed with me, so I can't really relate to that mindset at all. Do you hate being loved? Why do you think you don't deserve to be wanted? In my head, this also kind of ties into cringe culture. A lot of people today would rather be caught dead than caught caring. The act of putting yourself out there is seen as embarrassing because it carries with it the inherent risk that you might fail. And failure in anything is the absolute worst sin you could commit in this earthly life, as we all know. And trying for someone's attention and failing, making a bid for a relationship with them, even if it's only in a platonic sense, and failing, that's maybe the most humiliating failure of them all. Really, I can understand the difficulty people have in expressing these things. Look, I brought my citations for this. In her book Daring Greatly, researcher Brene Brown explains that people process social rejection the same way they process physical pain. Like, it hurts to be shot down by someone you were trying to build a friendship with or deepen a relationship with in any way. Putting yourself out there to make these kind gestures or say these nice things inherently carries with it the risk that you might get rejected. But that risk is also the thing that makes these relationships worth having. When we spend our lives pushing away and protecting ourselves from feeling vulnerable or from being perceived as too emotional, we feel contempt when others are less capable or willing to mask feelings, suck it up, and soldier on. Am I reading too deeply into this? Possibly. But the ground here is soft and I am ready to dig. Mostly I need people to get this sorted out because I'm trying to make more friends and I need people who will die in my arms. Not people who are so emotionally constipated that they can't even consider getting me a birthday present. So I'll do the shadow work if you will, and we'll all learn to be better friends for each other. Anyways, it's late. It's past my bedtime. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you again really soon. Bye.